Hello everybody, welcome back. Tonight I figured I wanted to have a little bit of fun and actually build out some WPF apps. So I've been having a lot of fun with the Skirday project, the squirrel installer one that I built out several streams ago. That's now in and working on the Simply Budget application. So if anybody wants to see a practical application of it going, it's there and working. But today I thought I would circle back and play around with another WPF app I built on my stream a while back called ColorKraken. So get cracking with release 8 dot something, don't remember which, added theme editing support. So you can open up a JSON file and tweak it and add all of your stuff. And naturally I thought that sounds like a WPF app, let's build it. So I've got a WPF version of it. A colleague of mine, Bruce, actually built out a Mac port of the same app. So if you like what you see and you're on a Mac, do not despair. There is a Mac version of it as well. But I wanted to go through and, as nice as it is to be able to open up the app and just edit your existing theme, I wanted to add in a little more, we'll say, sharing aspect of it. Because what I've found so far is there's a whole bunch of themes that various users have built and shared out on the internet. And it'd be kind of cool if I could just like leverage those inside of the app without having to think too hard. So that was kind of where I was thinking of going. So, other updates. Okay, so hang on here we go. Okay, step one, anybody interested in prior streams on the ColorKraken app? There's a bunch of them in here, and some of the ones that I did on like the dependency injection, generic host, and WPF, I actually used the ColorKraken app. So if you watch those, you kind of saw some of it in play. Some of that code I'm going to strip back out because it was done as a demo and isn't actually needed for the application. So we're gonna burn that down. Other thing, tomorrow I am recording an episode for the Adventures in .NET podcast. So if you don't already follow them, give them a follow. There's the link. I have the pleasure of working with Sean Claybo, and he asked if I'd be interested, and I said, sure, I like talking about .NET. That sounds like fun. So we're going to have some fun. I don't know exactly when the episode's airing. We're recording it tomorrow. So if you follow me on Twitter, I'm sure you will see posts of whatnot and when everything comes out. For anybody who wants to see it too, so the Simply Budget stuff, I ended up making a few tweaks all the way out, but this is the sum total of what it took for me to get the action working. So first of all, one of the bugs that I hadn't put in before, you do need to put the version in. If you don't pass the version to the publish command, Skirday ends up just defaulting to 1.0.0, which is really great until you try to publish the next version, and then it doesn't work. So make sure to publish with your version, and then it updates and goes. The other thing that I added in is one more API that you can point at, and it's probably hard to see here. Let's see, do I have, darn you, portal. There's an API on Skirday that lets me just arbitrarily say, hey, for this given app name, give me the latest installer. I don't want to think, right? Because most of the time on the site, I just want to say download latest version here, and then you can click. And if you click and run it, it downloads, installs, and runs, and everything works. And I was like, woo, yeah. So we might, if I get really fancy, we might do some ColorKraken and slap some Skirday on that. I was previously pushing it out via Chocolatey, but it doesn't have to. We maybe I go with the Skirday approach and off to the races. So this is, yeah. So this is the app, and actually here, all I have done so far is, as per last stream, I updated to the community toolkit.mvvm, and I axed the I had done some work for a key vault, but there isn't actually anything useful in this key vault at all. It's just, it was done as a sample for showing key vault, so actually we're just going to delete it. So it was shown as a sample, and anybody watching this from the future or watching the videos from the past, the NuGet package that I used there has been obsoleted. There's an updated one that the NuGet thing references that you just need to pull in. So just be aware. If you see it, there's technically a different NuGet package than what was available when I did that. Okay, step one. I think it now compiles. I think. Okay, build succeeded. Does it start? Huh? Thinking? Okay, so aside from the fact that it aired out loading the theme file, right. Yeah, this is one that I broke. So main window view model line 95. Okay. So on a positive note, my air handling worked rather nicely and showed me exactly what I botched. Wait. It did say main window view model line 95, right? Now I gotta look again. I thought that was clear. Okay. So details. Okay, set selected theme. Okay, so there's the selected theme setter. So in that property, it tries to call can't execute changed and fails. Oh, that's why, because I have my own extension method. So I think I covered this in the stream. When you, for MVVM stuff, when you have commands, just like how you have to raise iNotify property change to notify the UI when a property is changed in your view model, commands have a similar thing. You must notify the UI when their can't execute is changed. But if you aren't on the UI thread, no worky. So this just guy goes through and handles that for me, so I don't have to think too hard. Okay, so that will probably fix that. I realized I had to change a bunch of lines in all of these things when I updated that NuGet package with all the using statements. So hopefully it works. Okay, so there's this. You can come in here. You can go in, like, edit the theme. Apparently my yellow color is set to green. Here, let me just confirm that I am. So if I go, let's see, preferences and UI customization. So if I switch this over to my dark theme, yeah, it is as ugly as I remember. Okay. So if I recall, this background is the one largely driving it. If we say, no, we really don't want something like that, we're going a little darker. Apply. Go up and go a little more green. No? Did you fail to load? Kraken. Side question, have you tried Vim, NeoVim, or Emacs? Are they compatible with .NET? What do you think of them? So I have not used Emacs in many, many years. And technically all coding editors could be used with .NET. As far as what each of the and I'll be clear that I'm typically referring to like Emacs and Vim as editors, not necessarily IDEs. Usually, so the line's fuzzy, but typically if it doesn't have like debugger level support, I don't consider it an IDE. That's my opinion, right? Development environment, that's the last two letters of IDE. And then more importantly, integrated. Now, I do still use like Emacs and Vim quite often, not necessarily for day-to-day development work, but for like if you're living inside of WSL or you're remoted into a Linux environment, having reasonable familiarity with Emacs or VI so that you can actually get stuff done is helpful. Nano is also good, but again, it's just a text editor as far as how it goes. In terms of Vim, there is actually, so I have never personally learned it, but I did work with a colleague, and actually now several colleagues, who absolutely love it. And I am convinced that if you are willing to learn the power of it, it can be incredibly powerful. Like, they do a couple keystrokes and just like stuff appears, and it's impressive watching the speed at which some people can leverage it. So if you're willing to invest the time in learning it, it is definitely a tool that can be very, very powerful. There are, at least for the Visual Studio family of things, there are extensions that you can get that give you the VI key bindings inside of Visual Studio or VS Code, which then you can get kind of the best of all worlds. So you can get the nice development environment, but still keep the power of what people like for like Vim or Emacs. I'm not aware of an Emacs extension for Visual Studio. It would not shock me if there was one. But I'm not aware of one off the top of my head. Okay, so GitKraken decided to die when I launched that. Let me do this again. So the way this ends up working, GitKraken has theme files, and the problem being is if my app tries to write a theme file at the same point where GitKraken tries to read it, there can be fun I/O things. Now, I can make my app tolerant of I/O things. I can't necessarily make GitKraken's thing tolerant of I/O stuff. So if I do that, there we go. Usually when you do it, it's just using a file watcher and triggers. Let's just a little darker. There we go. We'll green it up. Yeah, we'll green it up and make it. We'll make it a little more green. Whenever GitKraken actually airs out loading a theme file, what it'll do is it'll fall back to one of its built-in themes, just as a way to make sure that the app stays responsive and whatnot. But as you can see, I now have my, we'll call it swamp green for lack of better words. But that's the sum total of what this app currently does. And it's got functionality for like new themes. You can automatically jump to the folder that contains your theme files. So they use this JSON-C format, which is a JSON file plus comments. The important part is the ones with the hyphen default. These are the built-in ones. Don't muck with these. Trust me, leave them there. If you want to make your own theme, copy one of these things, drop the hyphen default, and then go to town, edit what you want. And if you like this app, use it. So here's what I was thinking. If I can find my thing. So, for example, there are other things out there because GitKraken has a large user base, which is great. And there are people that actually have like stylistic and color skills, not me. I like making cool, pretty things, but I am not a great designer. And anybody who's looked at the stuff I've designed will probably look at it and go, yes, you are not a great designer. It's like, I can make things look like a picture once I have the picture, but coming up with the picture, left brain, right brain type thing, I don't do it. Or at least I don't do it well. I'll do it. And you'll also note that you can leverage like CSS stuff inside here. So that might be a fun thing to try to do. Because at one point in time, it was like, it'd be cool if we could see a preview of what these colors are. And when they're just the straight RGB values, that's easy. The moment you start like referencing other variables and doing CSS functions, that gets a little more interesting. Maybe we add something like that. But I'm thinking what I'd like to do first is I'd like to build out the ability to effectively bring in other themes, because this is rather nice, right? You go to a site, you scroll down, you've got a name, source file, which I assume this takes me to the source file. This takes me to the Dracula theme file. And what does this take me to? There's the JSON-C file. And ultimately, what I want is I kind of want something that's like title, maybe description, probably author, and then I obviously need a link to the JSON-C file, and then maybe an image, and I'm thinking maybe a thumbnail. I'm thinking that's my schema. I'm just kind of spitballing of all the stuff that I might want. And I'm thinking inside of the app, what I would love to do is I would love to be able to browse and find other stuff. And to have other people be able to submit theirs and bring them in. And I think for now, I'm probably going to go stupid simple. Because the general principle of make it work, get it right, make it fast, we're going to start with just the make it work part. And I think the easiest way to make it work is I just have a JSON file inside of my GitHub repo that my app can look at. I think that's the easiest. I think. That's probably the easiest, because then to update, right? Rather than having like an API that returns JSON or whatever, I literally just call into GitHub, get the JSON file, and load it up in the app. That seems easy. So let's build that. Let's start there. And we might even skip, we'll even skip loading the file from a remote source. We'll load it up locally first. We'll even go that far. Okay. So can you do an HTTP client pointed at a file URL? Huh. I might be able to do that. I don't know. Okay, so let's start with this. Where do I want this to go? Because this is kind of the main thing here. I'm wondering if maybe I should have like, I don't know, a flyout sidebar. Should it be a dialogue you go through? I kind of feel like I want something a little more persistent though. Maybe we go with, so hang on. I need inspiration. And when I need inspiration, I go to the material design library. Once again, Mango Mountain Dew is the lead for tonight. Let's see here. Where'd you go? I see you, Visual Studio. Where are you? Which monitor did you load up on? There you are. Come back. Wrong monitor. Okay, so let's fire up the demo app and let's just look, because oftentimes this is where I steal my inspiration from. And there are some pull requests on the material design project I need to put on. Once again, Nikolai, I have to applaud your work. You have been absolutely killing it. I very, very much appreciate it. And then Zalek has been, I think I saw him close out something like 12 issues or something the other day, and I went, dear heavens, what is going on with my email? Come on. Why is my computer running so slow? What do I have open? Oh, I know what I have open. I bet you I left Docker running. Quit Docker. I gotta shut some stuff down here real quick. That's why my computer's running so doggone slow. Okay. Yeah, OBS is expected to take up a bunch. Visual Studio, okay. I get it. Docker shutting down, that'll release all my RAM back to me. There. Docker's a little memory heavy. Okay, so I'm thinking maybe we go with maybe one of the tab controls. Though I almost like the navigation rail. Is that one in here or is that on a different one? Where did we put the navigation rail? We give it its own one. Navigation rail. Because I'm almost wondering doing something a little more akin to this might not be a bad idea. I kind of like the idea of a navigation rail. Okay, let's just steal that. Okay, so we're gonna do this. And I don't know. I'm gonna grab the entire tab control. Copy. Okay. Why is that pop-up still open? What are you? You're at a breakpoint, but I can't see the breakpoint you're on. Oh. Why do I have a breakpoint there? Continue. Go away. Okay, so there's that. So let's slap a navigation rail onto this guy. Let's stop running for the moment. And let's go back into the main window. So main window here. Oh. So I'm noticing it's got these little dots here saying it doesn't know the data context. So it can't auto populate. But if I use my little thing here, yes, go ahead and figure out my data context. So what that ended up doing is setting this d:\data context for me so that I get better IntelliSense inside of my XAML file when it comes to like bindings and whatnot. So now it should actually know about all of the properties of my view model. So now it shows me theme categories and all of that jazz, which is perfect. Okay, so let's look at this. We got a dialog host that I think I still want going over the top of everything. And I think I want this grid being inside of the navigation route. So I think what I'm going to do is something like this. Okay, so we're going to do this. And then we're going to get rid of, well, we don't need that. Let's see. That's all fine. That's all fine. That's all fine. We're going to clean that up here in a minute. But we're going to get rid of this whole thing. Content here. We're going to clean this guy up. the show me the XAML bit occasionally gets a little over eager with some of its formatting. Okay. Also, okay, so people can talk me off a ledge. I had a thought the other day. We've run into enough things inside of the XAML test library where we've written controls and resource dictionaries in a particular way because it's not reasonably possible to share things. So for example, we've got like the text box has a text box assist class, and based upon the setting of a bunch of those properties, you can end up with the text box looking and behaving very different ways, which is fine, except for the fact that, let's see, hold on, color zone, primary mid, vertical content alignment bottom. I don't think I actually want that. Except for, depending on how you toggle those properties, it makes the styles and control templates fairly complex, because now you have to do all these triggers to adjust things appropriately. And they're usually just, oh, if in this one style or property set, toggle these things, right? Which is fine until somebody wants to like change that. Like, oh, when I turn this attached property, you're setting, you know, this padding to 5 and I want it to be 8. It's like, oh, it's one more thing. I had a thought, because I've gone back and forth whether it's better to do attached properties to change things, or whether it's better to have a bunch of different styles to do it. And one of the biggest issues with XAML is with control templates, because oftentimes people want to tweak just a portion of the template. They don't want to tweak the whole thing. And I got thinking the other day that it might be nice if there was a XAML templating engine that could run before the markup passes during the build process. So for those people unfamiliar with it, a WPF app, when you hit build, there is one, sometimes two markup passes that occur where your XAML actually gets compiled down to BAML, is what you end up getting in the final result, and that's what gets compiled into your assembly, which is fine. But it means that you can't use regular C# source generators, because source generators act as part of the compile process. But those markup passes occur in MS Build before we even get to the compile. So in order to have a templating engine whose output would be XAML, it would have to run earlier in the build pipeline, which is perfectly possible to do. It's just limiting your tool set that you're available for. But something I was contemplating, it would be to have that templating engine available so that if somebody wanted to tweak part of a template, they could, and make all of that happen. But then rather than trying to maintain like 5 copies of a given control template with minor differences between them, we could have the one templating engine and have it go. Effectively, what that would end up looking like, if we look at inside of this library here, my material design examples, inside of utilities, I have this little guy here that lets you modify your visual tree at runtime. It's just a XAML-y way of modifying things at runtime. You can do all of this same stuff in C# just by using the visual tree helper, iterating down, finding your element and tweaking it. That's all this is doing. So that's it. It just gives you a XAML-y way of modifying it. That way you can tweak things that may or may not have been exposed by the control template, because sometimes stuff just isn't exposed. Now you can always get to it, but it's a little ugly. And it's basically the equivalent. I usually tell people this is like XAML level reflection. But if this could occur at build time instead, that feels better. Now, obviously, there's a question of how would it occur at build time if the templates lived in another project, this, that, and the other. Don't know. I haven't thought that all out yet, but it's an idea. You may see me build something. Okay. I wanted this navigation rail, which means I need the resource dictionary for navigation rail. LMN and why do you not show navigation rail? Oh, do I not have the latest? Let's start with the obvious problem. Did I not update my NuGet package? Oh, I'm back on 4.3. Okay, so problem one is I'm back a couple versions. So let's rev that up. That'll probably go a long way for finding my... There we go. So now the style exists. And the designer will probably be happier after a compile. There we go. Designer happier. Okay, so now we got something more like this. Okay. I don't think we're going to call it here. How about theme editor? That's not wrapping the text. Wrap. Something a little more like that. Okay. And then let's grab, that's that tab header. That's that content. This one here, let's see. Globe, maybe? How about internet? What's the internet one look like? That looks a little better. Download more. How about just download? Yeah, we maybe do something like that. That doesn't seem horrible to me. Let's see. And maybe we drop the word theme on the other one and just go with editor. And then rather than folder, maybe we go with the paint. No, that's not a good one. Edit. Yeah, pencil will work. Pencil will work for now. There isn't an editor one, right? Yeah, we'll just go with edit. Edit seems reasonable. Okay. Okay, so now we've got, we fire this up, we should have two tabs. And I am realizing there's a little bit of lag when it's loading up the files. So we may end up putting in a spinner or something. So we've got editor, got download. There. That's not bad. Put light, I think. Just so that there's a little bit of a separation there. What's secondary? Let's do secondary light. No, that's... Why is my secondary color orange? That feels ugly. Let's see. Oh, because I explicitly said it there. Does this tab control recreate the content when you switch tabs? No. So this is just the actual underlying control is the WPF tab control. We've just added a style to it. The tab control by default will not create the content until the first time you click on the tab. So that can sometimes cause problems for people if the content underneath one of your tabs contains a lot of stuff. You'll end up eating that UI load on the first click of it. So no, it's not recreating. And an easy way to tell is if you move the scroll bar down, scroll bar position is maintained. Scroll viewers, unless you do a decent amount of work, will not remember their scroll position. So if that were reloading, you would see the scroll bar bounce to the top at a bare minimum. This is an ugly secondary color, but I don't know what I would expect as a better secondary color. You know what? I'm not going to stress about picking a color right now, but I think I am going to go with one of the primaries instead. Yeah, maybe we go with the dark one. There. Okay. Good enough for now. Good enough for now. Okay, so let's build something to retrieve the files. Fuchsia. No. Though that would be a fairly good reminder. Oh, I love it. Bob Ross. Okay, let's make... So we're kind of in a weird situation now because I've made my main window effectively have two sections. And right now the editor is the main window view model. And it probably shouldn't be. Probably shouldn't be. It should probably be split up. So let's change this then. We're going to copy paste, and I'm going to make this guy called editor view model. But I basically want him to match... Stop it. Stop it. Don't help me, Visual Studio. Let's see. Editor view model. I want him to be more or less the same. Editor view model. I want him to do all of the same stuff. Oh yeah, I never really took care of my to-dos. Let me get rid of that. Okay. And now I think what I want to do on my main window view model is I want to dumb this thing way down. Because I think what I really want the main window view model to be is responsible for the window portion itself, which I'm going to declare that the window portion itself is largely just going to be around window content and the tab control. So this guy is just going to contain a couple items. And actually, you know what? I don't even need it. Maybe I should keep it though. I'm trying to decide. Because I could get away with, and actually some of these things are not, I've left too much stuff sitting around. Too much stuff from prior examples. I'm trying to decide if I want the main window view model to be responsible for the two child view models, or whether I want to split those up. I don't know if there's an advantage to this thing. I think we kill this thing altogether. So, editor view model. Because there's nothing main windowy about this. Because at the end of the day, all of what was the main window view model is now up higher. And I may end up breaking out this entire grid into its own user control at some point. But I think what we're going to do here is, let's see. Let's grab this design time data context. We're going to go here, and I'm going to give this guy a name. X name about editor tab. Sounds reasonable. And then all I'm going to do is in my main window, I'm going to come in here and go, let's see, editor view model. That's fine. Clean this up. Be annoying. And then I don't think we need this view model anymore. Oh, we were using this for loaded. We might keep this around, but this is going to become editor view model. I'm going to make you editor view model. So that goes there, that goes there, that goes there, and then rather than setting data context, we're going to go with editor tab dot data context. Boom, done. And then this guy goes here, this guy goes here, and that's done. Same with that. We may change the undo stack. I think we registered high up in the stack, and we probably don't need to have it that high. We can probably downgrade it. But I don't want to waste time refactoring that right now. Do that later. Okay, so that'll handle that. So main window view model is actually just going to get nuked. I guess you nuked, or you could argue that it got renamed, either one. But that means I need to come over here and change my registration. This needs to become editor view model. Okay. We've got that. We've got that. That works. Let me just fire it up and make sure I didn't botch anything. Did I delete that off the bottom? I did. Let's see. ColorKraken. I want that guy back. So main, this guy here. This, I would like to put you back. Boom. There. And actually, I don't know why I did that. That's clean. Okay. There. Now you should be happy. I think the idea was I was going to leave that. Main window view model. Oh, editor view model. And then where, boom, 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 boom. Just clear these out real quick. Boom, 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 boom. Glad I wrote tests. Hoping I didn't break them. Okay, so there's all of that. That's cleaned up. That's cleaned up. That's cleaned up. Okay. Okay, so that gives us an editor. I just want to make sure we work still. Object reference not set to the instance of an object. Oh. That's an interesting problem. Because in this constructor, it hasn't actually gotten to initialize component yet, so I can't actually set it there. Because until initialize component is invoked, the editor tab doesn't exist. Interesting. Okay, and we are up. We are loaded, and we're good. Sweet. Okay, so let's make ourselves a download view model, perhaps. So public class download. Go ahead and move you into. Let's see, and then we can leverage some of the stuff from last time. Observable object. All right, boom. So now this guy has all the magic. Oh, and he needs to be partial in order for the magic to work. So anybody who missed last week's stream showing off, or last week, 2 weeks ago, showing off the community toolkit, definitely check it out. So much goodness. Mwah. I should convert the rest of the stuff over to using it, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it at some point. Okay, so what we will need here is public async task. How about download themes? Sure, that sounds great. So in order to do this, I'm going to want an HTTP client, and I don't want to instantiate it myself. So HTTP client is one of those classes that can be a little bit challenging to use correctly. Because it is one of the classes that implements iDisposable that you should not dispose. So if you are lazy and able to, inside of a desktop app, the easiest thing to do is just to create either a named client or a typed client for every endpoint you're going to hit. Or pending that, just instantiate it once. Static reference, hold on to it, make it a singleton. You don't need a lot of them. And don't dispose it till the end. There's a lot of blog posts written on HTTP client and disposing. Highly recommended looking into it if you aren't familiar. Okay, we're gonna do that, and then let's go through and let's declare our POCO. So public, I'm gonna do a record class. Okay, so we said there was several things that we want in each of the themes. So probably a title, a description. Let's see, author. Let's see, and then we probably want to get theme record, theme item. I don't want to just say theme, but I don't know what a singular noun is. A theme thingy? Thingy sounds good. Let's see. I want a URI for about theme file, because we're going to want to download the theme file when we get it. URI, we'll make this optional. In fact, I think outside of the, might reorder these a little bit. I think outside of title and file, I think if that's all you gave me, that might be good enough. In fact, I could even go without the title, because we can infer the title from the file name. But I think for now we're going to enforce that it has to have a title. Doesn't really matter. Like, I want to be able to show it. Let's see. Preview image. At some point we may want to have multiple preview images. And then thumbnail image. So just we'll allow for some separation there if people want to have either of them. Okay, so when we go to download, what I'm anticipating is that the JSON file is just an array of these thingies. Seems simple, right? So it's better to locate records where they're used, to store them in their own files, or put them in a single file. Good question. This is actually, so when the language team added in record types, it kind of threw what a lot of people had as guidance beforehand that said one file, one class. And at the end of the day, what really matters is that your project is organized and you can find stuff. Like, there's plenty of arguments for why putting it in your own file is good, because then things like Search Solution Explorer or VS Code that are very directory level based, it becomes an easy way to know, hey, given a file, what's inside of it. Records, because they can basically be one-liners, some people still very dogmatically adhere to the one class, one file, and they will have one-liner files all over the place. Hey, Gislacco. Welcome. Where I kind of come down on it is oftentimes I will put my record classes a little bit closer to their usages. I think a lot of it comes down on usage though, of where should they be, where does it make sense. I will pull, like, just because they're one-liners doesn't mean I won't put them in their own file either. If it's a record that's kind of shared between more than one class and it makes sense to pull it out, then yeah. Do you like C# more than I assume that's just regular C, regular ANSI C? Yes. Low-level C is great for performance, but C#'s performance has it's really it used to be in the olden days that, like, the garbage collector, the runtime had a lot of overhead. It's not that much overhead anymore. And with a lot of the native compile stuff, C# can actually get down darn close on performance. Going back to school on Tuesday after a 1-year break, trying to get back into coding. Cool. I don't like C. I'm going to take his second C class. I hate it. I don't blame you. C is one of those languages that it is good to learn, because even in C#, a higher level language, oftentimes in a C class, one of the harder things to learn is the memory management. Like, you have to malloc and dealloc every little thing you're going to do. And understanding things like heap and memory management, those things still exist in higher level languages like C#. They're just oftentimes hidden from you. And even though they're hidden and usually handled for you, sometimes people who don't understand those concepts, they come back to bite them. And so at minimum, I think just even if you don't work in C, having that knowledge, I think is good foundational stuff to build on. Python as the first language made me lazy. Yeah, a lot of universities teach Python first because it is, in some ways, deceptively easy. Because there are some things like Python as a way of just getting stuff done fast. It's hard to beat because of it. It's very succinct. You can write a lot of stuff. It's a reason a lot of researchers like it, because it feels very friendly. It feels very almost like Excel-like in some cases, depending on how they're using it, where they can just like, oh, look at all the magical that I made. But there are, so I work with a bunch of people that do a lot of work in Python, and they love it, and we often have great fun at work, kind of ribbing on each other about which language is better. And we do plenty of like professional Python work for projects, so it's not a bad language by any means. I'll still take my C# most days of the week. I love it. Rest AM started. Yeah, programming can kind of be like riding a bike. If you've taken a long time off, you may fall down a little bit coming back up. Keep at it though. Okay, downloading JSON file. Okay, so HTTP client. Okay, so you'll note there's get string async. Now, there are overloads and specifically extension methods on HTTP client. So if all you want to do is do a regular HTTP get, bring some content back and get it as a string, this works great. The problem is most of the time we want to get JSON out because strings are nice, but dear heavens, I am not going to parse a string myself. That sounds like work. Using system net HTTP dot, no, net is spelled with a T. HTTP JSON. Excellent. Let's sort you up there. Okay, now if we look here, we should have another overload. Get from JSON async. Muchas better. Muchas better. Okay, and then we're just going to say I expect an array of theme items. And poof. Okay, now we have to figure out where let's actually make a JSON file because we're going to need one at some point. So add new item. Just on the note of different languages, there was actually an interesting Twitter chat that I was in earlier this week where people were debating, the merits of different languages. And the comment was made that the tooling for .NET and C# is really, really good. One, it's a rich ecosystem with lots of third parties. So even if there's something like Visual Studio or Microsoft doesn't build you, there's probably a third party that's built you something similar. Like some of the debugging level stuff that you can do in C# is just absolutely ridiculous. Like I can take my Visual Studio, attach my debugger to a running website in Azure in my production instance without bringing that instance to a halt and step through code on specific invocations. Like it is remarkable how awesome some of that stuff is. Like the tooling is really cool. Why do I not see JSON? What headphones are you using? That is a great question. One sec. They are Plantronic ones, but I don't remember exactly what model they are. They've been fairly good for me. So they are Bluetooth. The mic on them, like most headsets like this, sucks. I'll say that. The mic is not good. It is an area mic, and especially like in an office setting or where there's any background noise, because the mic is behind your mouth, it picks up everything. So I would not get them for headset capabilities. I actually run them hardlined rather than the Bluetooth, only because I have I don't know if I can lift it up. I can't. My wires are too short. I've got a splitter board, so I actually have my laptop, my desktop, my phone, and my mixer board. They all run into this arguably other mixer board that allows me to set my volumes of each of them. My colleagues give me nothing but crap because I will be on like multiple calls. That way I can have like one computer playing music and I can arbitrarily decide how much volume I want for my music versus like my calls so that I can still do things. Apparently that's not normal. Let's see. Themes, JSON. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go here, and now the question is, what do we want to do these? So right now, this is gonna require a capital T for the property name, like this, and I think we're gonna go with idiomatic JSON a little bit more. I think is probably better, which means here what we want to do is JSON property. No, what is it? System.text.json.something JSON. Oh, property name. My mistake. Okay. So when doing JSON serialization, I very much advocate for always specifying these attributes. The reason is, even if I were to set this like this to make it match, and this would be the default of, just use the property name, what can end up happening is people use refactoring tools and they don't realize they've broken serialization. Because I could come somewhere else and just, and build it out. Isn't there a utility in VS that converts CS file to JSON and back? Close. You can actually go from a JSON file into C# POCOs just with a paste, which is pretty slick. But in this case, oh, this is wrong. Title. In this case, I figured I would just write it myself in the interest of simplicity, since I don't actually have the JSON. I might end up generating some a little later. Okay, so let's grab, I'm actually gonna pick on one of these ones. So Dracula, you are up, you get to win. So we're gonna do title Dracula, and then let's just build out the rest of this real quick. Here, I'm gonna put you to the side. I don't want to think too hard. You there, you there. Let's see. Theme. Trying to think. Is it better to do hyphen? I'm almost wondering if I should just. I can't decide what I like better here. Yeah, we'll go with that for the moment. Let's see. Description, and I think we're gonna just leave this guy empty. And all of these will be optional. At least all of the nullable ones. And then we will do author. I might just do a blank one in here just so I have it. Let's see. Preview image. All right, we'll do that. And then I don't think we'll specify a thumbnail image, but I don't think we're actually gonna use it for these. I know I'm breaking all of my normal Yagni rules. Okay, so let's do theme file. And then we're gonna go here. Description. Author. Preview image. Thumbnail image. Boom. Okay. We've got that. Okay, and then let's get that's not where I want to be. I want to be here. And I want to grab the file. So if you go into here and you go raw, this is the path you want. Because we want to get the actual just raw bits out of this. So we're going to do theme file like that. And let's actually specify author since we're in here. We have a GitHub ID, so we might as well credit where credit is due. And then we should be able to go all the way back. And I assume I can find the images in the image folder. And Dracula is almost assuredly right here. And let's see, I want this link. Copy link. Pretty please. And something like that. Cool. That should get me everything I need. Okay, so this is where I'm not sure if this is going to work or not. I've never done this. Copy full path. I think I can get away with this. We're gonna find out here in a minute. Did I close my view model? Oh, because I docked it, I probably closed it when I thought I was done with it. Not editor, download view model. Okay, so in order to download, we need a new URI, and for now we may end up just hard coding this, but I think I can get away with this. I think I can get away with just doing that. I'm gonna find out. Let's see. So theme item array nullable theme items. I'm gonna do this. Let's see. This needs to be awaited. Okay, and then let's go through and do. we're going to need to expose something to bind to this. Make you private. You don't need public. Let's go observable collection. And then normally I will not just bind straight to my POCO or to my DTO, data transfer object. You can sometimes do it, but oftentimes there becomes subtle differences between what you want bound in your UI and what you want as a data transfer. But for now, I think we're gonna go with this. And again, get it working, get it right, make it fast. Let's see. Items, add range. Oh, you don't have an add range, do you? I always hate that. Yeah, we'll just iterate for each of our item in theme items, and this guy could be null because if like parsing fails or for any reason, and I'm ignoring HTTP failures at the moment because I'm not gonna deal with those yet. Let's see. Theme item, great. That goes there, that goes there, that goes there. Items, add, item. Okay. So we got to do a couple things. We need to register this with DI so that it can be created. Start with that. Download view model. Okay, that's fine. We need to register an HTTP client because I don't think we have those yet. So services, add, there's a package I need for that. Because there is built-in support for this. Browse HTTP. There is extensions HTTP. Yes, that looks more like what I'm looking for. Pretty please. Because I don't want to think too hard about scoping and that kind of stuff. Services, add HTTP client. Boom. Done. Thank you. No thinking. Okay. So there's that. There's that. So that will resolve its dependency. That will get it here. Now we need something to actually invoke download themes. And then we also need to set this as the data context for our tab, because we haven't actually set that up yet. So this is, oh, and this is now wrong because this should be editor view model. Oh, hush now. Hush now, hush now, hush now. You're fine. You're fine. We're going to do that. Collapse that tab. And we're going to go give this one a name. We'll call it download tab. And then his data context will be, let's see, design instance type, local. Why are you having trouble finding those? Just compile. Okay. You built, but the designer is being dumb. Whatever. Okay. Let's see. Download view model. Download view model. That handles all that. Download tab. Data context gets. We'll just set it there. I don't know if we need to do anything else. I'm wondering if what we should do is I'm curious if loaded, when loaded gets invoked for the tab. I think we might be able to leverage this to do our invoke for the initial load, but I don't remember. Download tab. Show me just the events. There is, I thought there was something along the lines of like opened, or I might just be misremembering what's available to me. Actually, we can cheat, because if it exists, it'll exist directly on tab item. There's no events there. Oh, we could probably get it rather than on the tab item on the tab control. That would be the other place to grab it from. Main window. Let's give my tab control a name. Name. Tab control. There we go. And then we come in here. Tab control. Hey, stop it. Stop it. There you go. Okay. And then something about, there's tab index. I thought there was events specifically around when tabs were changed. Show me. Oh, I don't have Carmack running. There we go. Where are, probably under selector. Really? Oh, selection changed. Duh. Okay, so worst case scenario, we can probably grab the selection changed. That may fire too often though, so we're gonna just breakpoint, breakpoint. The other thing we could do is we could actually grab when the content of the tab loads. I think loaded for the download tab may wait to be invoked until after we click on the tab. Yeah, the selection change triggered immediately. Oh, loaded triggered shortly after. Oh, interesting. Okay. We may have to do something a little more interesting. Oh, selection change triggered again. Interesting. And then I assume selection change will trigger here. Yeah, so we may just have to do, here's what we're gonna do. So if e dot I think added items is probably going to contain contains download tab. So here's what you do. You unregister the event. That way it only triggers the first one. And then we will cache this guy up here as well. Download view model. Download view model. Let's see, and that's going to go there. And download view model, download themes. Wait, but you have to spell await correctly because spelling counts. Async void, which is valid because we are at a top level event handler, which is the only time when you want to actually use async void. Okay. I don't know if I actually highlighted that when I was talking about the new MVVM library. Their relay commands eliminate the need for async void inside of your commands. There we go. So it contains downloaded tab. Great. It'll unregister, so we'll only hit it once. We call into here. We call into here. This is where I'm not sure what HTTP client does when it receives a file URL. The file scheme is not supported. See, I was curious. I was wondering. It seemed too good to be true. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I could spend time trying to figure out how to make it work, or I could just take this theme.json file, adding testing file, commit, push. Hey, look, now I have a remote URL. Problem solved. See, that's how we do it. Let's see. Close that. ColorKraken. Refresh. And this guy here, raw. Here's my URL. Problem solved. I'll probably move this into config later so that if people want to point it at their own file or repo or whatever, they can. Hard-coded will work for now. Okay, and we can probably turn the breakpoint off. Oh, hush. You're fine. You're fine, Visual Studio. Stop whining. Okay, let's see. And then I go here. Oh, I just realized I got rid of my breakpoint. So that's actually not going to do anything. I'm gonna grab it in here as well. Just want to make sure we get it on here because we don't have a UI yet, so. Okay, retrieved it. It has one item. The one item has the stuff in it we expect. Cool? Easy mode, easy mode, easy mode. There we go. Okay, okay. Let's build out a UI for this. Okay, so down here, I think we're gonna start simple. We're going to do a list box, I think. And the list box will have an item source. And there will be a binding on this guy. The binding will be, what do I call it? Items. There we are. Boom. Okay, now we got to give this guy, we have to design the individual items inside of the list box. So we do that with a item template. Boom, boom, boom. Declare a data template. And we will tell the data template its data type so that it knows the type of objects it's expected to act on. Let's see, X type, and this will be local, colon, and I called it theme item or something. Yeah, something like that. Okay, so I'm trying to think. I'm thinking we put the image on the left, title, description, author, or maybe we go title by author, description on the next line. I'm thinking, yeah. So let's start with it. I'm hearing grid. The grid column definitions, because I'm thinking 2 columns, right? Column definition with I don't know. I kind of want these things to be the images on the side to be big, right? Big enough that you can tell what you're looking at. We're probably going to make it blow up to like full screen mode if you want to zoom in on them, but we're gonna start here. So first column, 300. Second column, fill remaining space. Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do is an image, source, binding, and this guy here, I think we probably need to end up doing like a fallback binding or something. But I think we're going to do a preview image. We're just going to slap that guy in. Just straight up. No thinking. We may end up having to slap a converter on here. Because I don't think it can convert. Well, it's a URI. Curious what that'll do. Don't actually know. And then we're going to do... So let's do some rows now for the second side, right? Because we've got the image on the left. And that image is just going to row span all the things. But we will do some rows here because we want at least, let's see, row definition, height, auto. Right, so we're going to want one for, we'll say title and author, one for description. What else did I put on that thing? That's probably it for now. Yeah, just a couple rows. So we're gonna, this guy will do grid row span of 2. Great. Okay, and then we'll do the first one will be a text block. And I'm gonna do these as runs inside of the text block, just so that I can separate out the formatting between title and author to give them a little bit of a different look. And this will be grid column 1, grid row 0. Sometimes I'll omit the default row 0, but sometimes it's nice to make it a little more think. So this will be binding, and this will be the title. All right? And then we will do run text by, and then we will do run text binding author. So there's other ways you could have done this. Multi-value converter with a string format could do this type little thing in the middle too. I'm thinking I'm going to probably end up mucking with some of the font sizes and styles to separate these out a little bit. So I'm just going to do it like that, just for now. Let's see, text block. Let's see, grid, column 1, grid, row 1, yep. And then we're going to do text wrapping, wrap, and then we should actually probably do the text at the beginning. Text, binding, and then this will be description. Something like that. Yeah, let's see if it works. Ship it. Boom. One of these days, I'm going to figure out how to make the window start over here rather than over on my other monitors. Okay, so there's that. I mean, it worked. One could argue this isn't that pretty. I think that's valid. But it worked. I feel evil. Okay, let's make this a little prettier. Ba-boom, ba-boom. Okay, and for anybody new to WPF, this part here is about to be the best thing ever. So Microsoft at one point in time spent a bunch of time making their yes, it does work, making their XAML designer try to be a little more friendly and work a little nicer. And I told them, I'm like, I don't actually care. And what they ended up doing, in addition, because they still made the XAML designer better, which, not complaining, it's just I don't use it that much. The fact that I can come down here and go, okay, I would like to make the title's font size bigger, right? Let's see what 20 looks like, right? The fact that I can just do that and see it update in real time, this is what web developers have had for a while. And it's great because you just sit there and you plink around on your UI until you get what you want. And it's wonderful. This hot reload is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Okay, the other thing I'm thinking is, and I'm going to actually do it on the image. The image needs some space around it because it's a little too tight around the edges. Like the list view itself. Do I have zoom ins running yet? I do not. So if I zoom this in, you can kind of see up here, right? There's this, the default list box item in the material design library has a little bit of space around it, which is good. But on the, over here by the text, we're way too close. We're way too close. And I'm thinking that needs to move over a little bit. So let's see. Left, top, right of 20, 0. So kick that over just a little bit. Yeah, and I'm thinking font weight, maybe demi-bold. Probably not bad. I almost want the font size a little bigger. And actually, if I'm going to make the window or the image this tall, I probably just move these things onto separate lines, honestly. That doesn't seem that bad. Let's do that, and then let's break the view down. And then rather than this, we're going to end up doing something much simpler. Let's see. Grab view, cut. And then all my bragging on the hot reload, and you get to watch it fail right out the gate. Let's see, string format by, then throw in the value, please. I think we're going to do that. We're not going to worry about localization for the moment. Oh, it did work. It's just the row needs to go to 1, and then this row needs to go to 2. And I think we're going to change this row definition to tell the description, fill the remaining height. Okay, so row 0, row 1, row 2. don't know why that dropped down so much. A little confused by that. Background red. Interesting. It's like the grid didn't update its row definitions correctly. Because this last one should be filling up all the remaining space. I'm thinking the hot reload just failed. Hey, after bragging about it. Okay, but I at least get a little bit more there, and then this ends up being a lot simpler because this doesn't need runs anymore. This gets here. Get it? Runs. Huh? Joke. Laugh. I'll laugh at my own joke. It's fine. Let's see. We'll do that. Bring that down, and then I'm just going to get rid of all of these things out of here. Clean that up. Clean that up. And let's do wrap you down. The one drawback with turning on Karnak is you get to see how often I'm doing control something or another to manipulate stuff. Okay, so let's relaunch real quick, and because that's getting a little better. And we'll just get it close enough for now, and then we will boom. Okay, so it's interesting the size load there. I'm almost wondering if that's probably problem row span 3. There we go. That's what was pushing it down. Got it. It's interesting that this thing went that big. I'm a little surprised. Let's see. There's a mode, like an image scale. What's the scaling thingy on here? We may not worry too much about it. I say that and then I keep looking for it. Is hit test, mouse, items, lost focus, manipulation, don't care. I want to thank you for the MVVM tutorial a few days ago. It helped me a lot. Thank you, the creator. Glad it helped out. I try to do a bunch of those things, especially when there's useful content. I oftentimes have dreams of making a lot more tutorial style videos specific to individual topics, and then I usually get pulled off on other things. I have about 3 different talks that I have Word documents started for, trying to put together outlines of different things that I'd like to do at some point. And in my copious amounts of free time, I'm sure I will get around to them. But I am glad you found it useful. Let's see here. Okay, so that, you know what, we're going to call that good enough for now. Okay, so the one other thing I'd like to do is we need a download button. Obviously, at some point, we'd like to click on it, make it bigger, show more stuff. Later. Get it working. I'm thinking just another column, maybe? Width. Hey, that is not how I type width. Width. 100 maybe. We just make, because download should be big. The whole point of this thing is the download, so we should make this thing a little bigger. Okay, let's see. We're gonna do button, and then this is something that a lot of people always seem to forget about, is that a lot of controls in WPF are content controls, which means you can put arbitrary content inside of them. Like oftentimes I see people going, well, how do I put an icon on my button? Because, you know, they're sitting here and they're like, content only takes in a string. You know, it's like, it actually doesn't. It actually doesn't. So rather than doing this, so that's called attribute syntax, to be clear. What you can do is you can go button content and go with element syntax, and then inside of here, you can put whatever you want. Arbitrary content. So anything that has a content property even though you may specify like a string in attribute syntax, and it will helpfully convert that string into a text block with the string inside of it, that's great. You can actually do a lot more if you want it. And I think that's exactly what we want in this case. And actually, a lot of the content controls, the content's the default property, so you can just nest it. And it's the same thing. Okay, let's see. So we're going to go with a pack icon for starters. And I believe there is a download. What's a download icon look like? That looks pretty much like a download icon. And I may just drop this. And then I think what I want to do is I want to go with a style. There is a material design flat button, I think is what I'm looking for. That's a little hard to see is the problem. Let's see. Let's move the U over to your new column. Oh, that 100 width is kind of big. Let's make that smaller. This should not be sizing this way. So specifically what I'm looking at, this width here defaults to 1 star, which means 1 unit of the remaining space. You know what? We're just going to go auto this guy. Call it a day. So that guy should move all the way over later. I think what we're going to do here is I'm actually going to go grid row span and have this thing span all 3 rows, just like the image does. That way I can then vertically align center, and it'll keep itself in the middle regardless of how the content lays out. But I think I'm probably going to change this from flat button. Material design. You know, actually, the flat accent, it's flat accent background button. Let's go here. Let's look. I want a button, and I just don't know. Oh, you know what one might be pretty? One of these. Yeah, that way there's the line around, because I don't necessarily want to fill it, but I kind of like that. Yeah, let's do that one. Let's do that one. That one looks pretty. That's wrong Visual Studio. Try again. Boom. See, when in doubt, go and look. And I kind of want to make it bigger than normal size. So, let's see. Height, 40. Width, 40. The button needs a height of X static. Oh, can I get away with just doing... I can just do nan here, can't I? There we go. So, dirty trick. I just happen to know from working on the material design library that the default styles have some sizes set on them just by default, just to give you reasonable starting points. If you instead you would rather have it sized to content, the way that you end up doing that is you want to unset the height and the width. And so the default value for height and width properties in WPF, at least for most of these controls, is going to be double.nan, not a number. And so if you set it back to here, this is indistinguishable from if the height was never set. But I know that this style is going to set it on me, so I just unset what the style did. Okay, so let's relaunch. And actually, we should give this guy a tooltip too. Tooltip, download theme. Right, we'll do that. We'll do that. Oh, that's not what I want to be on. And let's go here. So many hidden gems in these WPF streams. Sorry, that's the thing, is I would love to make smaller videos targeted on each of these little gems, but oftentimes, like, it's weird. I have trouble remembering them right up until I'm about to use them. Interesting. So that column did not size the way I expected. Interesting. Okay, so Now we debug this. Show grid lines true. So the grid in WPF comes with built-in debugging support. So you can see that the show grid lines, I believe, are ugly intentionally, so that you can directly see where your rows and columns are. And I was surprised because I expected this thing to go all the way across. So the immediate thing that I'm noticing is my grid isn't going all the way across. The other way you can do this, and I think you saw me do this earlier, is I will often use background like either red or fuchsia, because red is the color of air and fuchsia is the color of ugly. And so I can see right here, I'm like, oh, well, look at that. It doesn't matter how I size this, my grid is not filling all the way across. Maybe dark should use horizontal alignment on items. Yeah, and I think that's the actual issue, and I'm pretty sure the problem is the default on list box is a horizontal content alignment left, and I think I want stretch. There we go. So I'm pretty sure the horizontal, so there's horizontal alignment, so the horizontal alignment of your control, but then a lot of the items controls have horizontal content alignment. So the alignment applied to each item, and then inside of the item, the template gets applied. So so this is a horizontal alignment property somewhere between listbox and the actual grid. Internally, there's a listbox item class that gets added to the visual tree that this gets specified on. Okay, so that moves it over. Download theme, that works. That works. Okay, so that looks better. Now we should probably make the button do something. That sounds like a good idea. Now, this is one of those cases where I might want to go through. A second, I'm gonna clear out. For some reason, it re-maximized a bunch of my windows, and I just want to close these things down before I do something stupid like show something I shouldn't. There we go. Okay. So if I were to normally go through and do this, what you would do is you would do, command binding, right? Binding download command. And the problem is it wants this download command now to live on this theme item, which isn't really what I want. I kind of want my command parameter to be the theme item. And so if I do binding with nothing else on it, that's the equivalent of path equals period, which means my current item, which in this case, my current item will be my theme item, which is great. But I kind of want my download command to live up a level. I kind of want to put my download command up here, right? And so what we can do is we can go with private async task download. What did I call that? I called it download command. Yeah, so if I call this download, download that, and then we're just gonna royally cheat. Relay command, boom, boom, and now we got a relay command. Yeah, we'll deal with implementing. And what I really want here is a theme item, because I want it to be passed in. Just slap a little breakpoint on there. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a relative source binding. Let's see. Relative source, ancestor type, list box. And so then rather than download command, because download command doesn't exist on list box, right? But it does exist on the data context of the list box. So let's relaunch it. Now when I click that download button, I should hit right here. Crossing fingers. Okay, download, load up, great. Go! Easy mode, look at that. Okay, great. Let's see, and then I want to do private async, well, I think I can just do private bool can download theme item, and then this guy should return if there is not string, right? Because we want to, if there is no theme file. Oh, this is interesting. I'm gonna make you nullable. I have this rule that I usually tell people at work that if you're serializable, you're probably nullable. It's really hard to justify non-nullable on something that's serializable, unless your serializer is doing something to enforce it for you. So unless you can make that argument, it's really hard to justify. Let's do is not null. We'll pattern match it. Why does some XAML see the private member? For some reason, I thought it could only access public properties. Ah, good question. So the XAML actually can't see this private member. What's actually happening under the hood, if I go up here to dependencies, let's see, I believe it's analyzers, community source generators. If I look under the relay command one, this guy, you'll note it's generated. So the key thing is I had to make my view model partial. So in order for these attributes to work, the class that they're inside has to be declared partial. So what it does is it generated up part of my partial class, and based upon the name of the method, what it did is it generated a download command property, which you'll note this itself is an async relay command property, and it bound that thing up to my download method, which is pretty slick. So in general, you are absolutely correct. Private stuff isn't visible outside, except in the case, and that's where things get a little weird with source generators, because source generators can effectively generate out things into partial classes. They can be inside the class. Though the can download didn't get picked up, and I'm trying to remember the magical incantation for this. Let's see. I really should just bookmark the docs page, given how much I've been using it. Let's see. I want to go here, 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 and this one, I believe it's the right one. Input. Where is the source generator bit? It's in the attribute of the relay command. Ah, thank you. That's right. Okay. Somebody else paid attention to my stream. I clearly didn't. Let's see. Allow. Oh, so let's set a couple things. Well, allow concurrent connection or concurrent executions is going to be false by default. We don't care about canceling, but we do want to set the can execute, and then that takes a string. So we do name of can download. Boom. There. Okay. That way, in the event that we get a theme item that doesn't have a file, we're gonna cut it short. Okay. So that builds that out, and then we're gonna use our HTTP client to. I guess in this case we can do get stream async. It's not bad. So theme item. Let's see, and this is theme file. In this case, all we're going to do, let's just do a quick if. So if theme item theme file is null, I can spell null some days of the week. Boom, there we go. And then we will do using stream theme file stream that. Oh, hush now. Okay, and then we need to, and then we need to put this into the right directory. So where do I have my other stuff? Because when we download this file, and then obviously at some point we'll probably need to deal with the file name collisions. If two people have files named the same thing, how do we handle that? Yada, yada, yada. Where is the theme manager? Create theme. My theme manager probably does it. Let's see. Yeah, so the theme manager has all of my stuff for looking this thing up. I think what we might do here, let's go look at the implementation of this. I almost want to do an overload to create theme rather than having a require the Poco to match, because this is close. Yeah, this is doing a copy of the default to bring it across. This is a little different than what we want to do. We want to do write theme under the hood. But this is right. This is actually doing the serializer. We really just want to do this. Yeah, let's do that. I think that's probably just as easy. So let's give ourselves an overload because this is close. Let's see. Task. Create theme. String name. Stream. Theme data. Something like that. Maybe. Seems reasonable. And then implement interface. And we'll come back to it in a minute. So we'll just assume that that interface exists. Let's see, theme manager. And because this was already in use elsewhere, I don't need to worry about making sure that it's registered. We add null check. We're gonna make you private. No point putting you in there. Theme manager. Create theme. Let's see, theme item title, and then theme file stream. Okay, obviously we've got potential error handling to deal with, all of that jazz. And actually, let's null check this guy too. Is null. Do that, do that, do that. Okay, and then what are you squawking about? Ooh, okay, we'll make you static. Curious if the source generator still picks it up. Looks like. Sweet. Points awarded. Source generators are so slick. Okay, so let's implement the theme manager, and then we should be able to download this theme and have it just work. Okay, so inside of here, theme directory path, and again, we'll have to deal with. We'll have to, let's see, to do check for existing file. We'll have to deal with that at some point. So path, combine, and then we're gonna do with, let me look, there should be a Json C. That's all I did there was append it to the end. So I kind of want this. Let's move this into its own function. So I think this is basically what I want. Extract method. Get theme file path. Oh, okay, where did you put that? Get theme file path. So all of this jazz, great. So given a name, this will give me back a file path, and I don't have to think too hard. So string file path. I'm only doing this as a separate line because I have the assumption this to do is going to happen at some point. Using stream file stream gets, and I kind of want to grab the same little bit that we have here. There you go. This is a problem when your control keys also trigger page up, page down. Is sometimes I end up in the middle of nowhere. Okay, so we're just going to go with file path, write stream, And then we're going to go await, theme data, no, theme data, copy to async, write stream, boom. And then I think the only other thing we need to do is we need to notify, because we're doing a file IO operation, our other view model isn't going to know about it by default, but I believe it is registered for a, oh, it's registered for a brush updated. Let's see, this themes thing, where do you get set? Tests don't count. Oh, we should do collection synchronization bits. I forgot about that. We should set that on our other one. So the enable collection synchronization, it's clearly not biting us at the moment. But what this allows you to do is access your observable collection from background threads. And it'll use this as a synchronization lock object. So I just give it a new instance. So if you run into issues when you're doing things like add, clear, etc., while interacting with an observable collection, that's usually the easiest fix. Let's see. So this is just building it in. Where is load themes? It's only invoked in one place. On refresh. What I want to trigger refresh. How do I make... so there isn't a file IO bit here. So what we might do, let's just make a new message. Where did we put this? This is a record class. Let's go with public record class themes updated. I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to move you into your own file. So this is the case where I do separate them out into individual files. And then I'm going to make you a recipient for that message. Let's see. Themes up. Oh. Did I really call it themes updates instead of updated? Yes. Because I'm dumb. Yes. Let's see. Themes updated. There. Better. Okay. And then implement interface. And then in your constructor, I need to register both. So before it was able to infer the generic parameter because there was only one. The moment you register for more than one thing, you have to actually specify the message type in the register call. It's updated. There. Now this guy here can do the same thing. This is just going to be a on refresh, and we're going to call it a day. Let's see. Actually, we're going to go async void on this as well. Because this, again, feels very top-level event handler-y to me. Let's see. Okay, there's all that. There's all that. So now, after we download, it should show up in our list under our editor, and everyone should be happy. So, let's see if it works. And then, more importantly, if people find other themes that they would like to show up in this download list, it's just a pull request into that JSON file. That's it. And that seems pretty easy to me. Okay, so with no progress indicators, maybe we should do breakpoints so I can see when we actually get through to things. So we're just gonna step through download. Okay, so we hit there, great. Should get past the null checks, great. We got the stream, great. We're gonna go into the theme manager. We get a file path, something Dracula JSON C, great. Opens the file, copies the data in, closes it. Oh, we didn't actually post the message, so that's not gonna show up here, right? Until I hit refresh, and then that'll go out and reread all the files. But now I do have Dracula here. Interesting that it was smart enough to select it. But that also means that I should have, oh, I can now come over here and I can do UI customizations, and Dracula is in my list. That's not bad. I kind of like it. I kind of like it. It works. It needs some love. It needs some love. It needs some love. But this is functional, right? Minimum viable product. So before we get too carried away, commit. Basic implementation of downloading external themes. Boom. Okay, so we got that much. Got that much. I didn't push. Yes, I'm aware. Okay, so let's clean a little bit of this up because I feel like there's a handful of things that should probably happen here. So let's start with air handling. Air handling is probably the most likely. So let's do a little air handling action here. Catch, exception. Okay, so this is probably where refactoring a little bit of that main window bit may actually come into play, because I believe the editor one actually has an air handler thingy. Show error. Yeah, so this has the message queue. Okay. Now, I would like to use, so what's happening here is inside of this tab, key part inside of the tab, there is a snack bar. And I think what I want to do is I want to yank this sucker out and have him live outside. So maybe I do actually want to change up the layout a little bit, because right now when you open this up, we have these dialogues. Let's see, new. Yeah. And the dialogue exists over the top of everything. Specifically over the top of the navigation rail. And I think I like that. I don't really think it makes sense to click the new button, toggle over to download and do something else. Like, if you click the new button, you deal with this thing first. I think that makes sense. But I think what I need to do now is actually separate. Yeah, that needs to exist. But I think what I want to do is actually separate out this content a little bit and actually bring back the main window view model, because I think I want the message queue and the snack bar to live outside of it, not inside of it. Okay, so let's do that real quick. So that's going to be a... I'm going to need a grid or some container control that can hold multiple things. So, because... Okay, so step one, we get that held together. Step two, we're going to pull you out and move you down here. Now, you don't actually need to be grid one. But we do need to put you at the bottom. So let me just check here. This one was just slapping it there. So we're just going to leave you here. But message queue needs to now not exist on the editor view model. It needs to exist higher up. And now I think we come back to needing to have main window view model. So let's make that guy. So public partial class main window view model. That move type. Okay. Okay, and then I want you to be observable object. That is just too slick. Okay. And then we want to grab that message queue out of here. So you're going to come out. You're going to go here. Yeah. And then we need to deal with the various errors of that message queue. So step one, this was being injected previously. We need to make it a constructor parameter here. So gen constructor, on the constructor, do the null check. Thank you. That gets rid of this. I suppose I should probably stop debugging at this point, since I don't think you're going to be able to recover from all these changes. And then this show error message is going to need to move as well. Okay, so that goes here, that goes here, that goes here. And actually, I think we're going to put the show error message back here just for a moment. Then I think error details view model. We might change this guy up. Why are you saying you're part of an interface? Oh, you implement IEquatable because you're a record type. Got it. Got it. But I think what we're going to do instead is I would like my main window view model to be an iRecipient. Recipient. Boom. Of show error. Was I naming my stuff differently? No, I was being somewhat vague. I think what I'm going to do is bring this guy over here and have him be show error. And then on show details. Oh, that's why this existed. Got it. I'm going to pull you out too. Put you up here. Let's see, but I still need a public, a record class, show error. Let's see, string message, string details. So I'm going to do that. And because this is going to be an iRecipient, what we're going to do is a basic pub sub. And then this is actually just going to become this, and then I don't need this. Let's see. This is message dot message, and this is message dot details. Okay, so that'll handle that. That'll handle that. Now back over on our editor view model, we're going to still have this show error, but instead what we're going to do is we're going to do messenger send, and this guy's not going to care. Show error message details. So he's just going to blindly, when there's an error, he's just going to fire it off into the abyss and hope that there's a listener for it. Now in our case, we know that main window view model is going to be there, and it'll catch it. We need a messenger here though, and I think this messenger. Does this thing not generate? I'm trying to remember how this worked. Oh, this one doesn't have an underlying messenger, does it? I guess we don't need to assign the property. Because really, we just need a register. And again, because I only have one message type I'm listing for, I don't need to specify it here. Compiler will infer it. Okay, so this should all work. This should all work, and this brings it up a little nicer. I kind of like this a little bit better. Okay, I like this a little. This feels a little bit cleaner. Okay, clean that. Okay, let's register it with DI. We only want one of them, so singleton again. Main window view model. Boom, boom, boom. Everything else should already be registered. Those were existing previously. The editor one, we got rid of the queue. We got the messenger. All of that jazz is in and working. Great, great, great. Okay, so now we come back over here, and all we need to do is change up this guy. So we're gonna. Oh, we didn't null check this either. Add null check. Main window view model. I realize I probably should be writing some unit tests over all this stuff. Let's see, and then we're gonna go with here data context gets view model. So the top level stuff will all be main window view model until it gets down to the individual tabs, and then those are going to change. So we're going to do this same data context here just to make sure that this shows up, and then this will be main window view model. Okay, compile. And I think that all works. Let's just validate it. Oh, this guy needs to actually post the message now because he doesn't have a messenger. So let's give him a messenger. Messenger. Let's see, property, null check, private, and then down here we'll go with messenger send to error or show error. This will be e dot message and then e dot to string, like that. And then just for kicks and giggles, throw new exception. Go boom. We're just gonna validate that this guy works appropriately. It's getting bad. My Mountain Dew's almost gone. Not a good sign. Okay, so we go download, finds its stuff. Don't like that sizing. Go boom, details. Shows all the stuff. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. That's better. Okay. Okay, so that handles that. That handles that. We should probably do some error checking here too. Pull you out. Catch. Exception E, and really we should probably have a some sort of refresh or something to re-trigger this. Might add that next. Let's see. I kind of want to give myself a helper method down here. Private void show exception. Basically do this down here. That way I don't have to think too hard about doing that, and I can just call show exception, feed it in, and that's the end of it. Okay, so that'll handle that. That'll handle that. I guess down here we can just early return. If it fails, no point in doing any of this work. Okay, so that handles some error checking. Poly is great for retry. It can also directly integrate with HTTP client. Yes, yes it does. I don't know if I care about retries though in these cases. I don't know. It's a good question. Well, real quick, for anybody unfamiliar with it, let's see. This is a library that everyone should be familiar with. Just because making HTTP calls is like synonymous. And more importantly, you should probably not try to re-implement your own like retry policy. It is deceptively difficult to do well. I know I'm guilty of doing it like XAML test. But in general, especially for app level development, pull in poly, even though it integrates with HTTP client, you get resilience policies just out of the box for things like timeout, bulkhead isolation. I thought you said something about retrying for the download. Sorry, when I said retry for the download, I should have clarified. What I meant was right now this download themes only occurs once when you first click on the tab, and there's no like re-download. So I'm thinking a refresh button. Sorry. Retry may not have been the right word. Refresh button. That's what we're going for. But yeah, any of these types of things for Poly are absolutely amazing. Like the rate limiting one, especially if you're like calling a third-party API that has caps on how hard you can hit it or how fast you can go or how many concurrent things, like all of these types of stuff, or cache, right? The running joke in computer science is always there's only two things that are hard: cache invalidation, cache, naming things, and off by one errors. So, and you get just very generic, like you can just effectively wrap methods or delegates in these resilience policies, and it just handles the rest for you. And one of the built-in things is HTTP client. It can inject itself right into the message handler, which is the internal pipeline that the HTTP client uses, and do like the retry and whatnot for you. So if you need resilience in your stuff, Poly is the way to go. Definitely the way to go. Okay, but I think this handles almost all the errors aside from the file already exists. And I'm kind of thinking we just throw here. At least for now. Because the simple solution is just to tell the user, hey, you've already got one of these with this name. Either go rename it or delete it or something, right? File path, right? Throw new. What is the... I think there's already a nice exception for this. System.io, something file. I want the opposite of file not found. Is there a... What is the... This file create, doesn't it? Creates or overwrites. Is it file write? One of these, no, file write wouldn't. One of these has a method. I don't remember which one it is. It may be under the open. Oh, it's probably actually documented under the open modes. That's probably what it is. File load exception, maybe. One of these throws an exception. If the file. So should create a new file. It will be overwritten. No, see, I don't want that. One of these has a. If the file exists, oh, it's an IO exception. Okay. Well, fine then. That's what we'll throw. And actually, we don't need to do that. If we change our mode to create new. So this is worth noting. I can do this file exist call. I was actually having a discussion with some colleagues earlier today on this exact topic. I can do this file exist call, but by the time I get to this line here, I have no idea if the file actually exists or not. Because you're never guaranteed that something couldn't mutate your file system between your calls, file exists is rarely the right answer. Like, you should never do, like, I should say, the pattern I always see that I always critique people on is things like directory exists, right? So something like, if directory exists, then directory create, right? Like, I see this pattern a lot. Don't do this. This is bad. Create directory is documented to not do anything. Not here. See, F1. Also, pro tip, if you ever want to jump to the docs on a particular method in Visual Studio, if it's a BCL method, anything in the base class library, you should be able to put your cursor on it, hit F1, and get straight to the docs page. You'll note it is documented to only create things that don't already exist, and it will no-op if the thing already exists. So checking for existence before calling it is meaningless. And more importantly, because you can't actually guarantee that the return value from this isn't stale the moment you move beyond it. Like when you do it in exist call, you get a quick snapshot in time of did it exist at the snapshot. But by the time you see that value, you can't be guaranteed that it's still accurate. So similar thing with like delete. Generally, the better option is to just do the IO operation and catch exceptions, which this thing here will now throw an exception if it already exists. However, in our case, I would like to provide the user a slightly better error in this case, because I know down below is also going to fail. I'm going to try to circumvent the obvious failure case and provide a slightly better error to the user. That's it. I'm not doing anything more than trying to give them a better error. So probably helpful. A theme with the name go here. Already exists. So we'll just provide a slightly better error message. We should be able to test this. Okay, so that's there. Now, if I come in here, because we already know that I downloaded the Dracula one before, I should be able to hit the download button. There, much better. And I can hit details and get the stack trace and whatnot. I should put a little bit of a little tight. Put a little bit of space between that. I assume that's in my error details view model template. Yeah, see, there's no margin around these things. We need a little bit of a margin. Needs to be a little bit of separation between these guys. Let's see, margin. So happy with that, but let's put a little bit on the top. Just so, yeah, a little bit of separation between the text and the button. And then maybe a min width of 100. Make it a little bigger. Yeah, that's a little nicer. I like that better. Cool. Okay, clean that up a little bit, make it pretty. Okay, so we'll go in here. Adding some error handling to the download view model. Okay, there's that. Let's go and add in a few more bits to my theming JSON. All right, so I would like to add in at least a couple more of these. Let's grab, not you. So we're gonna come back here. And then paste you there. And then we will, let's see, copy link. That is not, oh, that's right. I have to dive in and then copy this link. It's actually what I want. There. That should point to the JSON-C file. We may want some additional handling on that or whatever, but okay. And then back. Nope, back to the root, images. Let's see, I think this is want this link here. Copy link. And then boom. Yeah, and then let's do one more at least. That way there's a little more. I may go back through and pick up the rest of these here later. And if anybody would like to submit their own, it's now a pull request into a JSON file. So might be nice to go through and actually put in a like an issue template. Ooh, see, this one has dark and light. I think what we're gonna do, let's just double it over. Light. So we'll do both real quick. Copy link. And oh, I didn't get the right link on the other one, did I? No, I didn't. I should go back and get the correct link on that. Let's go back. Go back. Let's see, down to here, raw. That's what I want. Switch here. The other one probably redirects to the same place, but I kind of like being already pointed at the raw one instead. Let's see, and then we want to come back down to Night Owl, light, raw, copy. There. There's that, and then jump back, and then we will do the images that we're after next. Yeah. So we want Night Owl dark. Let's see. Copy link. Let's see. Dark is here. Paste. Back. Light. Copy link. Boom. So there's that. And it's probably worth, just to avoid people fighting over who gets to be first, it may be worth sorting by like alphabetical or something. So this should, oh, if you don't commit the file, it won't do anything. Adding more themes. Click, push. Okay. See, this is why we need a refresh button on the downloads tab. Ooh, why did it not load more? I would have expected it to pick up the change to the file. Reload one more time. Was I just too fast for GitHub? Interesting. Okay. Little surprise there. Let's open this page up. Yeah, see that? That has more than one thing in it. Let's just catch it here and see what's happening. See, this is why I need a button to click to fire this method off, rather than having to restart my app every time. Oh hush. Oh hush. I understand you're unhappy. Don't worry, you can be unhappy. Okay, so what did you get back? Huh. How? What? Huh? Huh? I just want to test something really quick. Let's see, immediate window. Do that. Oh, you are dumb. You are dumb. Okay. Let's see. like I'm getting a cache value. Yeah, because I did push it. Okay, load. Huh. That's interesting. I wonder why I'm getting different behavior on my... Why am I getting different behavior on my browser than I am... Why? Because this is identical URL, right? Yeah. Huh. I'm a little surprised that I'm getting... Yeah, I'm a little surprised I'm getting a bad cached result. Different branch, maybe, possibly, but that's why I copied the URL, because the branch is part of the URL. Just... Those look darn similar to me, and then more importantly, I can control click and go right to it. So when I hit it in the browser, I'm getting one thing. When I hit it with my HTTP client, I'm getting a different thing. Now, the big difference is my browser knows something about me. Okay. That was an incognito window. Let's try it one more time and just hypothetical. I'm really, really, really surprised at this. How? What? Okay. We're going to try something interesting. I don't know what Fiddler's going to do with OBS. So I'm going to apologize if this breaks something. I'm going to see what happens, because I'm really curious what's going on. Real quick. Just going to pop over and do a quick stream check and make sure that my stuff isn't completely broken. Okay. Which isn't yelling at me. Okay, so let's fire this up. I want to see this call go. Let's see. Let's see. Live debugging session. Yeah, that's both good and bad. Okay, so we turn off that clear. Okay, so here's the call. Oh, interesting. It's now showing all of them. Did Foo get all the items? Okay. Let's turn Fiddler off. So with Fiddler on, it found them all. I have a sinking suspicion. Now, it could just be timing. It could just be that GitHub was giving me a cached result and I waited long enough. See, now I don't know. I don't know. Two possibilities. One, timing. I just waited long enough, was getting a cache result from GitHub. The problem, you know, as they updated their servers and whatnot, because when you hit their servers, it's not like you're hitting just one, right? They have to propagate cache stuff out to all the places. So that's one possibility. Another possibility is Fiddler has a, I guess I could fire it back up again. Fiddler, when it starts, what it ends up doing is it registers itself as a system proxy. And more importantly, it will often bypass caches because cache hits are not useful when you're trying to debug with Fiddler. And if I remember correctly, there is even an option in here about that. I could be wrong, and their clear cache button is the only thing in here. Scripting extensions, tools. Yeah, where is it? Where is it? There's a clear cache button buried in here somewhere. Decode, find, save, clear cache. The thing right in front of it. So this will blow away any local cache stuff, and it's possible that firing up Fiddler cleared a local cache and that fixed it. Or again, it could have just been timing. Okay, so yeah, sure, fine. Fire up and go. But now we have this. And now, so there is something. So you'll note the scroll bar is snappy. And the reason it's doing this, because you'll note as I drag it, it goes, and here, let me make it smaller again. Is it's going, only full items, only full items. The reason for doing that is virtualization. The list box by default likes virtualization so that it can stay performant. Now, if you have a bunch of items, that's important. I don't, and I kind of want to turn that off. So, what is it? Scroll viewer, what is it? Can content scroll. What is the it's smooth scroll. Where grumble. I can't remember where it is. WPF enable smooth scroll. There's an attached property. Yeah. What is it? Can content scroll plus. So I was in the right place. Scroll viewer and content scroll plus. Yeah. Not exactly intuitive name, I think we can agree. But now, as I grab my scroll bar, it goes pixel by pixel. So just be aware, though, you can kill. Isn't it on virtualizing stack panel? It is, but the underlying list box template, just because you're in a virtualizing stack panel doesn't guarantee that you get virtualization. There's things, I think there's like 4 or 5 things documented on it that will intentionally kill it. And smooth scroll is one of them. So if you turn on smooth scroll, it becomes a little harder to virtualize because it then would have to do measuring. And it gets even more complicated if you have jagged items. Like if there was something in here that would change the height, and technically we do, is if somebody made an image that was really tall, because I'm only constraining my width of my column and letting the width be whatever, right? So if you made a preview image that was 300 pixels wide and 12,000 high, you're now going to make a very jagged view here. I don't think I care that much. I'm just kind of happy to have this. I think this is really nice, actually. It would also be nice. Well, I don't know if there's an easy way to. There's outside of adding some sort of storage. I was going to say it'd be nice if it would show me which of these I've already downloaded. But so SML KTB. Sorry, I do not know SM. Smooth. Yes. Thank you. I was like, I don't know what SML KTB is. Okay, so there's that. There's that. That's a little nicer. Okay. So let's see. Oh, we don't want this change here. Discard changes to that file. Let's see. Smooth scroll. Okay. Sorry. see. And sorry, double checking. Yes, can content scroll did turn off virtualization. So, and I think I can actually pull up the docs here. WPF. Where is the... I think it's buried in here. That's not it. Display NARD's datasets. Yeah, so this bit here. Let me clean this link up so it doesn't auto-link to English for you. Boom. Yeah, so by default, UI virtualization is enabled for the list view, list box controls. Tree view you can turn on. It's not necessarily on by default, partially because tree view gets a little more interesting with because you've got stuff expanding and collapsing on it, the heights, changing things around. But depending on what you have in your tree view, sometimes it makes sense. But any of these things can actually end up killing your UI virtualization. So, and oftentimes what happens is people end up killing their UI virtualization unintentionally, which is unfortunate, but it's worth noting what's in there. So it's outside this box because you disabled scrolling on it. Is using a scroll viewer outside the list box because you disabled scrolling on it, right? I might need you to explain that. So in this case, there isn't a scroll viewer outside of the list box. The scroll viewer is inside of the list box's visual tree. The first tab over here, I ended up not using a list box. I used I manually did a scroll viewer and a items control. Simply because on this one, I didn't want to include like the selection behavior that you get with a list box. So you either start with the list box and go to the effort of turning that off, or you just put an items control inside of a scroll viewer and then you have to add everything yourself. So the list box is basically just a really convenient wrapper around an items control with a scroll viewer that already has the selection stuff turned on for you by default and a few extra handy things. Like that's all a list box is it's taking a lot of the common little building blocks that you would normally use. But can content scroll sounds like it disabled scrolling completely. Yeah, see, that's the problem. That's the problem, is it's named really poorly. Can I F1 here? Oh, yes. Yeah. See, this is where it's not always obvious, but you'll note it's not actually disabling scrolling on the scroll viewer. You'll note elements that support the iScroll interface are allowed to scroll. So, and you'll note here, the difference is the logical units. So in the list box's case, individual items versus in terms of physical units. Different size of elements turns off virtualization, or is the scroll glitchy? Glitchy by default. Because it wants to snap to the size of them, you get some really weird looking behavior. It's really bizarre. I cannot tell you the number of times I've gotten bit by that and spent a lot of time staring at it going, what is going on? Because especially if you only have a few items in the collection, it's not always obvious what's happening. It's like, why is it hidden? Well, it's not hidden. It's just moved off or various things. And it gets really weird really fast, especially when you start like expanding and shrinking the window. Oh my word. I've lost many an hour fighting over this. And again, if you don't have a lot of items in the list and the list isn't going to like grow out of hand, like if I get more than maybe 50 or 60 themes in there, I might go back and revisit how I'm doing the template and maybe maybe either like add paging or something to that effect, or turn off the smooth scrolling or something, right? One of those things might have to give. But if you're going to be like only in 2 digits worth of items, it probably doesn't matter. Like the performance gains that you would get, maybe if you have like this template for my item is not that big and not that heavy. Maybe if I had a really big template with lots of elements per item, that's why it's hard to say. You can't just base it upon the number of items in your list box. It's number of items times size of template. So if you have a really massive template for an item, okay, maybe like theoretically 10 items might be too much if you've got a really huge template with lots of stuff in it. But if your template's kind of like not that big and not doing a whole lot, I actually wonder now too if with that can content scroll off, let me make sure my breakpoint's off. I think that might even clean up some of that sizing obnoxious bits with the image size at the beginning. Okay, breakpoints are off. Breakpoints are off. Good. Nope, not that app. I want this app. Okay, so click. It is still sizing big and then going small. I don't know why. Don't know why. Yeah, that might be a problem for another day. But on a positive note, ColorKraken now has a nice, easy way of downloading remote themes. I think the next thing I may do is I may pull in Skirday like I did for my other one and deploy it. Actually, you know what? Should we just do it right now? It's already 11:30. Do I do it right now or do I go to bed? Bed sounds nice. Gotta be up a little earlier tomorrow. Screw it. Okay. Let's see. Swagger. Okay, so step 1 for Skirday is you must, so in my case, because I've deployed this, if you have to do your own deployment of the Skirday service if you want to do this on your own, because right now, in order to create a new app registration, you have to log into an account that's in my AAD, which right now consists of me, and me. So, let's see, what did I do wrong? Access, blah, blah, blah. Am I, second, I might need to switch the off bit on this. Maybe I won't do this tonight. Resource principal name. Oh, it's because I'm signed into a grumble. Sorry. Microsoft Auth can sometimes be a pain if you are signed into multiple accounts inside of the same browser simultaneously. It's picking the wrong one. Okay. Stand by while I actually auth against my account and question where I put my phone because I need two-factor auth. Turn off bedtime mode. You're cute. Let's see. Authenticator app and authenticate. And yes, that's me. Let me in. Of course, you pick now to update your terms and conditions. Sure. Okay. That was a big, exciting thing. Okay. Importantly, I logged in. Okay, so I needed a new one. ColorKraken. And then we're going to just drag this off. Trust me, when you click the button, you get an API key. And you share that API key like you share all API keys with nobody. Okay, so I've got an API key, clear, great. So you get back a response, the response contains a string, the string's the API key. Okay, that's all we need there. The app now exists in my system and we're good to go. So let's go back to here. And let's go back to here, and we need an action. And I think what I can actually do is I can probably take the one right out of that I was using for Simply Budget, and I can probably just take it almost wholesale. So let me grab that file real quick. Because this is, I wrote it fairly generically. Grab that. Come back here. Let's see, ColorKraken. Because the advantage of this is then I don't have to fight with Chocolatey for like getting my stuff approved and pushed through and all that jazz. Okay, so that's there. Let's go into here and we're gonna add that file in, add existing item. Boom. And then the other thing I need to do is manage NuGet packages, browse, and I need Skirday, SC, IU. Can't remember how to spell it. There we go. Add U in. So add NuGet package. That's important. Yeah, do all the things. Just realized it has a lot of extra dependencies that I probably don't want. Huh, I should fix that. It's largely an artifact of the way it's built, but most of this is probably fine. So build, test, publish. I need to create a secret called Skirday API key. We'll do that here in just a second. It's going to upload and do all the needful. So, yeah, so we're going to end up needing to change up this name here. But other than that, I think everything else is more or less set. Okay, so let me open up there's a handful of properties. So just like when you make a CS proj file for publishing a NuGet, how there's a handful of properties that you have to set for like author, description, name, etc. Skirday works the same way. There's a handful of properties that need to be set. Most of them will take reasonable defaults. These ones here are all the ones that actually matter. Version isn't, you don't actually have to set it as long as you set it on the command line. Setting it here is not overly necessary. But if you want to publish from the command line without specifying it every time, hey, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Thank you. Okay, so let's go property group and paste. And then we're going to call this ColorKraken. I should probably look at defaulting this to the project name too. And then the repository URL, because it's going to need that for publishing to know where it's to find the releases and all that jazz. Yeah, I think we're done. Let's see. Yep. Let's see. Adding SCIUR. In retrospect, I should always pick names for my projects of things that I can spell. Picking things that I can't spell is basically asking for trouble. Okay. Oh, I didn't update these. Oops. These are going to be ColorKraken. So this will be your application name. So whatever you set in the Skirday app name is what goes there. Goes there, that goes there, and I think we're done there. I just need to create the API key really quick, and then we should be good to go. So settings, secrets, actions, Choco API key. I want a Skirday API key, and I'm just gonna whoop, move that not onto the main screen. Paste that, and then I'm going to clear that from my paste buffer. Oop. May need to go gen that key again because I think I may have just exposed it. Oops. It's okay. I'm getting good at this. Okay, there's that. That's built. And this has an initial release of 1.0. So I think we're just going to create a new one. Draft new release. And we will do 1.0.1. Create tag. 1.0.1. New release using CIURIDAE, added in support for downloading external themes. So we do this, we go publish release, and if all works well, we're done. And that's it. I was trying to make my life for publishing apps with installers stupid easy, and I think Skirday does the trick. Because that was remarkably easy to go from no installer to done, assuming this all works. I also realized that I have it running tests, and well, the test must be passing because this was, let me just verify. Does this actually run the tests? Yes. And it does do a chocolatey package thing too. So I may need to look at that. I was contemplating actually going through on Skirday. Like, now that I have it working, I've got this long list of features of stuff that I want to add to it. One of which would be extra deployment stuff. Right? So rather than just it being GitHub releases, I would like it to be Azure Storage accounts, S3 buckets. I want it to do managed manifest files so that you don't have to actually publish those themselves. Let the service handle all that. Yeah, all stuff I would love to do, but I'm not going to do at the moment. Okay, where are we at? Compile. I love how this thing has been building for negative 16 seconds. Excellent. And I'm actually contemplating that that GitHub action file. This feels very generate-y of something I could, because Skirday has a little CLI. I'm contemplating adding things to the CLI that are just like gen me my actions file. Don't think, just do. Because at least for me, most of the time what I'm going to do is something pretty much identical to this. Did I push that? Oh, I didn't push that change, did I? See. Stage file. Oops. Didn't push right file name. It'll actually probably still work. As long as it gets past the .NET publish. The only thing it's not going to do is update the files on the action appropriately. Or update the files on the release appropriately. But if it gets past the .NET publish, we're good. You failed. Oh, that's disappointing. What did you fail on? Not recognized as... Oh, interesting. Well, it did do the needful, but MS Build, even though it should have found that, failed to pull it down. This will probably be a problem for a day when Kevin is awake and has more caffeine. But I could probably want to get this going. Plus, I should probably regen my API key since I'm pretty sure I flashed it on screen. So, anybody watching, don't get too excited. I think as soon as I shut this stream off, I'm going to go cycle it. Just because. Just, you know, exposing your API keys, not great. Not great. Okay. It's 11:45. And I clearly have bugs to fix in Skirting. So thank you everyone for coming and hanging out. Hopefully people found it interesting. Sometimes I enjoy just kind of building apps. I do plan on getting back, and I think the next couple ones might end up being some material design in XAML. There's some pull requests and whatnot of things that I've kind of, I don't mean to abandon the project. It's just when I only have so much free time in a day, I only get to what I can, and then I come back to you. So don't take it as a lack of support. Take it as Kevin only has so much free time. And to those people helping out on the material design triage team, your guys' help is greatly appreciated. I certainly do it. One other quick thing. I'll just throw this back out there in case anybody wasn't here at the beginning. Tomorrow I'm recording a episode for the Adventures in .NET podcast. So I don't know when it's going to air, but we're recording it tomorrow. So if you aren't already following the podcast, I recommend it. It's rather good. I work with Sean. Sean's pretty cool. So with that said, I'll tell everyone happy coding. Have a good night. See you everyone next time.